Another government shutdown is brewing. If Congress doesn't pass the budget, a proposed continuing resolution would fund the government, the federal government, until December. Democrats have attached a measure to that CR to increase the debt ceiling. Jessica Klement is Staff Vice President of Policy and Programs for the National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association. Jessie, welcome.
Hi, Mimi. Thanks so much for having me.
So what's different this time than in the past?
You mean than always on September 28th, 29th, 30th, where we constantly seem to be having this conversation? I think this time there are so many more moving parts than we're used to, particularly that debt ceiling, that we are going to run out of extraordinary measures on October 18th, plus an ongoing conversation in Congress about the infrastructure package and the $3.5 trillion Build Back Better reconciliation bill, all of which are kind of culminating as part of this CR conversation.
So tell me a little bit more about the budget reconciliation bill and how does the debt ceiling play into that?
It's a really good question. As you noted in your intro, House Democrats tied the continuing resolution with an increase in the debt limit almost through the end of next year. And Senate Republicans said, nope, absolutely not. We're not voting for a debt limit. So now the conversation is like, well, how do we raise the debt limit? Because we have to do it to pay our bills or we're going to default. So it's my understanding that the conversation now is, can that be attached to reconciliation? And the reason that conversation is taking place is because reconciliation only requires a simple majority vote in the Senate. So if all 100 senators are present, it's a 50-50 vote. Vice President can cast the tie-breaking vote. If you have 99 senators present, all you need is 50 to pass it. Mitch McConnell's been very clear. His caucus is not going to vote to increase the debt limit. So it's unclear what Senate Democrats, what tools they have, if not reconciliation, to get that debt limit passed, which is very much fast-tracking the debt limit, the reconciliation conversation that's being had in Congress right now.
But the debt limit is later. I mean, we're looking at reaching that maybe in mid-October.
Right.
Those are the estimates. But as far as the federal shutdown, that could happen. Day
after tomorrow. No big deal.
At the time of this taping, anything could happen. But I'm just wondering, how does that affect federal employees if the government does shut down?
I've been joking a lot this week that it's very deja vu-y. Like, we've just been through this. Like, seem to always be on this show talking about a government shutdown, either towards the end of September or when the CR runs out. So right now, we need funding starting October 1st, which is Friday. So Congress needs to pass appropriations by midnight on Thursday, tomorrow. If they don't, federal employees know whether or not they can show up to work on October 1st. You're either, essential or non-essential. And if you're essential and you have to go to work, you don't know when you're going to get paid. If you're non-essential and you're staying home, you also don't know when you're getting paid. The employees that stay home during a shutdown know they will get paid eventually. That is now a law. Congress doesn't have to pass that funding anymore. They will get paid. When seems to be the big question. When we went through the shutdown last time, 30 plus days. Well, in a 30-day time period, your rent is due, your mortgage is due.
You've got to pay groceries.
You got to pay your bills, right? And so for federal employees, even though you're going to get paid eventually, the anxiety that comes with that hardly seems worth these partisan fights. Really does.
What about agencies? Do they have plans in place as to what to do when the money runs out? So
most agencies, I think, do. Unfortunately, we've been through this enough times that they know. OMB sent a memo last week saying, hey, start preparing for a shutdown. To our knowledge, employees are being notified, hey, you got to come to work on Friday, or you can't come to work on Friday if the government shuts down. But I think about what it takes to prepare for a shutdown. I mean, these conversations started 2 weeks ago. And I think about all the work that's not getting done because those conversations are taking place, right? And this is just not an efficient way to run our government. It's no way to run a business. Why would we run our government like this?
So what about the federal response to COVID-19? I mean, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't need to remind anybody.
The distance between us right now.
Exactly. So what happens if the government shuts down? Does that shut down?
That's an excellent question. As you're asking that question, I'm wondering how many people who, outside of a pandemic, wouldn't be deemed essential who may now be, because we are in the middle of a pandemic, and trying to take care of the American public in addition to doing all of our regular jobs? It's an excellent question that I'm not quite sure anyone has a good answer for.
So what's your best guess, Jesse, on, you know, is the government going to shut down? Are we going to we're going to go into a CR? How's that going to work?
So I've been burned by that question on this show in the past, but I'm going to answer it honestly anyway. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I'm not much of an optimist, but all signs point to the fact that as of this taping, the Senate will pass a continuing resolution today that may or may not get through the House today. If it doesn't go through today, it should go through tomorrow on Thursday and be to the president's desk before midnight tomorrow, Thursday, September 30th. As of this taping, all signs are pointing to that. I've obviously had a number of conversations with staff, with members of Congress that are saying, don't worry, we're going to pass a clean CR. We're not going to shut down the government. Don't worry. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard this before. So I think the chances, as we tape this show today, are pretty low. But this is Congress, and anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Well, Jesse, thanks so much for joining us, and let's hope for the best.
Thank you.